And that gets in some really weird crap and some dark witch house stuff or something, you know? So, like if you're making witch house, you're going to be in the negative.
Good evening, everyone. You're in the right place at the right time. Blasting out of the East Coast like a ray screaming across the land and into your town and into your home, slamming into your Mac like a supercharged DeLorean running on plutonium.
Greetings from an undisclosed location. This is Brian from Logic Pro Hacks and FadedShadows.com. Well, I was reading KVR again and got sucked into a never-ending debate, world crisis, with the classification on the difference between a stab versus a pluck. For fire truck's sake, who really gives a big stinky poo? Seriously? The KVR forum is just a bunch of guys that really need to get laid. Well, anyhow, if you're really anal and you want a good definition, here it is. A pluck is just basically a pluck string. A stab is just like from brass horns. All that being said, guess what today is about? Yep, that's right. Stabs and plucks. Stabs versus plucks. And we're going to start off building this cool EDM Stabby-ish pluck right here. Let's go ahead and just play this part. Yes, I know. Stopped at mid-song, and now I'm annoying the side of you where I didn't resolve on a root note or something. Yeah, you must be a KVR person. All right, here we go. First thing we want to do is open up a new track. Software instrument. I'm going to create this first one right here, which is the pluck bottom. And it sounds like this. Go ahead and put the ghost on because the ghost is controlling reverb. Sounds like this. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is how this was built in the MIDI. So let's go open up the MIDI. You can see that we have a root note of a G sharp, then it goes to E, then it goes to F sharp, and it goes to G sharp again, then E, F sharp, G sharp. So it's your A flat minor chord progression, or G sharp, depends on how you want to notate it. That's how the MIDI is built. And then what we do, first line down on the root note, and then you just hold your Alt key down and just take your mouse cursor and just drag it up like that, and see how you get two stacked on top of each other. You just take your arrow key and just down one, and now it's right on top of on the other note. And that way, then you just hold your shift key down. You can make an octave like that, or you do this, keep holding your Alt key down and just go, and then hit your arrow key up. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you got a perfect fifth. Cool. I'm just going to delete that one because that was just for example. What you do is you make an octave and a perfect fifth above, and it sounds really nice when you hit those full chords like that, especially on a synth like this. And the synth that we're building is open up an ESP. So we'll go instrument, ESP. Boom. So what I like to do is first thing I do is I just take all these oscillator waves and I just zero them out. Or you can just get a setting and just save as 0. Change this to 16. The 4, 8, and 16, that references the old days where they had pipe organs, and the settings are in like feet. It's like 16 feet. It's the lowest setting. and the highest is 4 feet. The term feet determines like octaves coming from measurements of organ pipe lengths. The longer and wider the pipe, the deeper the tone. So we're going to get a real deep tone right now. And speaking of tones, let's go ahead and let's take the sawtooth wave. From left to right, it goes like this. It goes triangle, sawtooth, pulse wave, or pulse width wave, or rectangle wave. And then you have a sub-oscillator pulse width wave, which is an octave below this one. And then you have another pulse width rectangle wave, which is another octave below this one. So it's like 2 octaves from that one. And then you have a noise generator. But what we're going to be messing with is just these two right here. First one, what we want is right above the 8th. So like right there. Maybe a little bit lower. Just want this top matching this top right here. And then this other one, we want to do the same thing, but with a 4. See how it's like that? Stoop, like that. What's up, dude? Let's use some speed. Sound like a drug dealer. We will need some speed, but let's adjust it as we're playing it at the end. Frequency, we can leave the frequency where it is. The resonance, we can leave the resonance where it is. ADSR, we want this ADSR all the way up because we're going to use this. If the ADSR is down here, it's not going to do anything. It's nothing being affected, but if it's down here, it's in the negative value, so it's going to be negative of what this is. And that gets in some really weird crap and some dark witch house stuff or something, you know? So, like if you're making witch house, you're going to be in the negative. So, yeah, that's a joke. All right. I don't know, someone might try it. It might conjure up some weird demon. Yes, I have a weird sense of humor. All right. So ADSR full. Velocity filter up. Volume all the way up. Velocity volume. We want to get this guy maybe 3/4 away, maybe all the way up, something like that. Because we can end up controlling how much velocity we want to have. Overdrive. Overdrive is going to be almost 3/4 away, maybe a little bit more, something like right there. Chorus, it's going to be around 80%. And here is an interesting note about the chorus. It basically sends a delayed and detuned signal that is mixed back into the dry signal, or kind of like a doubling effect that makes things sound more lush and wide. What we want to do is we want to make sure that our release is just right underneath the R, just touching the tip of the R. The attack, we want the attack just above that little button right there. And no sustain. Decay, you can leave the decay as default. Touching the D, a little bit above the D. And I think that will create our sound. If we go ahead and we play it. Not so much chorus. And the overdrive up. Yeah, make sure this is up too, so this one, that also helps. Let's go ahead and just close that out and see what it sounds like now. Perfect. Now, next thing, we're going to send out 2 buses. The first one is going to go to a short verb bus. And this one, let's go ahead and just hit the Alt key and get it on 100% or 0. And just take it around -11, -12, something like that. Doesn't really matter. It's up to your liking. Just don't get it like full on and then you have like a huge muddy mess. The space reverb is what we're using. And it's big drums. And you find this in Legacy pure drum reverbs, big drums. I say it's a short reverb, but it's actually not a short reverb. It's just a really big sounding reverb, a little bit shorter than the longer reverbs, if that makes sense. but it's made for drums, but I like to use it on plucky sounds because it sounds really cool. And make sure you jack your reverb level all the way up and you take your dry all the way down. That's it for that one. Channel EQ. We want to put an EQ on it, and you just take the low end off and cut down the high end. Then around the 1300 hertz, I like to jack it up. This is up to your preference and what you like, and I like it. I cut it around the 3000 hertz range just because I feel like there's a ringing sound that I wanted to get out of the reverb. The reverbs in Logic they're okay. They're not the decent sounding reverbs, but the one thing I noticed is if you spend some time EQing it, it actually sounds really good. So, and then take out the low end. I think I said that, and boost to 500. It sounds really good. I like doing that. And then put a limiter on it. And if we play it now, it should sound like this. Going next is the delay. And that is going to be a jack this one all the way up to 0 and just take it down a little bit. You can also hold your Alt key and then click on it and it'll go automatically to 0. So we can just take it down to, -3. That's good. Now, this is a setting in here called Sync 7 1/8/7/16. Just go ahead and just make sure that this one is checked and then this one's checked, and then look here. Here's the deal. See this groove? It says 43.6666. You got the devil's number in there. That gives it the groove. And then this other side has a 50%. Make sure your mix levels and beat sync set, and you'll have a nice little groove in delay. Let's go ahead and play it, see what it sounds like now. Very nice, very nice. So we are done with the ESP sound. We could put a EQ on it, and the EQ is basically what we're going to do is we're just going to take the low end off and the high end off. You just roll it down, something like that. Around the 1160, you're going to make it a bit of something like that. And we're going to insinuate this area right here on the 1K mark. And we're going to cut off the high end because we're going to get our high end from our other pluck that we're going to build. And then when we have the EQ on and we take the little bit, this low end, the sub end off because we have a sub that's going to come in later on and fill in that space. It's all about carving space and reserving space. And then when we play it, it sounds like this. Nice, very nice. So then, go ahead and I'm going to delete this one because that was just for example. So we have our pluck built. So the next thing what we want to do is we want to, our stab, if you want to call it that, is we're going to do the distorted high end pluck stab right now. And this one's made for sculpture. This is really easy to make. You just basically what you do is you just go down here and pick plucked instruments, go noisy pluck. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then just, if the delay is on, just uncheck the delay. Leave the body EQ on because the body EQ is a modeling EQ and it sounds kind of nice with it on. And then on the channel EQ, I'm taking off pretty much all the mid-range and the low end, or the low mid-range. And then I'm doing this kind of little curve and taking off the high end. Now, my deal with the sculpture is there's a certain aftertaste to the sound that sort of disagrees with me with the sculpture. Maybe a lot of you longtime Logic users may know what I'm talking about here, but it's just like, it sounds like, just has like a harsh metally sound to it. is the aftertaste, like a metal coppery aftertaste. I know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but that's just my thing. However, you can still do some amazing stuff with Sculpture. One being some really cool eerie effects, especially when you start modulating the morph. Did that on one project where I made this really cool effect, so I got to bring that up. It reminds me, I'll do a video about that. And if we just listen to it by itself and just take all the effects off, I'll let you listen to the raw. It has this aftertaste to the sound, if that makes sense. Now we put on the EQ. Let's listen to it. It sounds a little bit better. And we put a little bit of distortion on it. And on this distortion, it's a little bit different. What you do is you pick the setting nasty distortion medium, and then you take your drive and you put it all the way down to 0.45. Make sure your pre-gain is at 10 and the tone should be default. But here's the big difference. The nasty, it was set with nasty. I changed it to class AB hard. And I really like this combination of sounds. So I could probably resave it as something different, but oh well. Play it. It sounds like this. Extenuated just some of the low mids, and it's okay. Now if we put the reverb, and what kind of reverb are we doing is we're doing this thing called Big Reverb, and what it is it's a tape delay. Tape delay is set for 54%, flutter intensity is 100%, and the output is 52% wet and 53% dry. You just copy all these settings, make sure the sync is on, your groove set for the middle note here. And then the next one, I have a platinum verb, pre-delay, nothing, room shape is 6, stereo bass is 1.5, initial delay, 30 milliseconds, spread. Just copy all this stuff down too. Just make sure your dry is all the way down and your wet is all the way up. 2.45 for reverb time. So it's a really long reverb. Put a compressor on it and sidechain the compressor. And how you do that is you just create a channel right down here called Ghost, put a Kleifgeist on it, and set it to a bus. And then on your bus, set the bus to no output. And then what you do is then create a 4 on the floor type of kick beat, because 4 on the floor is what we're looking for. And that'll send signal back into the reverb. Put the reverb on, the Ghost on, sound like this. And then we have a delay. Come on, reverb, stop reverb. Go home, reverb, you're drunk. And we have a delay. Delay is gonna be the same delay that we did short verb or drum verb. And you put them all together. Sounds like this. Bottom one on. And sounds like this. Awesome. Great sound. Let's talk about this other pluck. This is made from an ES1. Very short attack. Long decay. Full sustain. And release is very minimal. I'm using a pulse width wave, and it's set like so. Then I'm using another square wave, pulse width wave down here. And the mix is 50-50 between the two. The cutoff is very low because we're going to modulate the cutoff. The chorus is set to C1, 4 deep, 24 dB filter. The drive, there's not much in the drive. If we play that one by itself, it's an on-off type of beat. By the way, this project is actually for free at blend.io/faded shadows. You'll find this project here. And if we play this, animation. You can see that the cutoff is going up and up and up and up. Start real low, and here I'll play it again. Cool. And those are the plucks. Well, that's all I have for right now. I'll talk a little bit more about this template. We'll go in and we'll try to do some pads next. And major lead sol sound. So until for now, remember, my friends, stay groovy.